similar bans from that game number 1, except JDG are the ones that ban away the Azir this time. Not wanting to let that one through at all in this series whatsoever, but I do like some of the pinch bans that we are seeing from IG in terms of the Galio presence to really play that duo with Shun on JDG's side. The Kiana is going to be banned. That was also banned on JDG's side last time too.
That as a blue side ban is wild. You were just saying that Wei's not going to play this. You don't have... This is a massive pick now for even when IG are playing the next 2 games out. This is IG saying, oh, this is a pick that Wei does not have. Wei has not got this in his pocket.
So this was also a ban from last game from JDG's side. They did opt to ban in the Wukong this time, so the Annie is going to make it through for Rookie. Some of that point-and-click setup that you love to see from them. But I love the kind of card playing we're getting between these 2 junglers with such a defined history with each other and the duality of what they bring to teams. But now we'll see what JDG want to set themselves up with. I expect some power out of the mid lane. I expect something to try to upend this Annie a little bit. The Rise is going to be the answer right now for Scout. And we'll see if the jungle is going to be the next lock-in for JDG.
We have plenty of picks still to take for this JD Gaming roster. Obviously, the Rise in the mid lane sets up for some CC, sets up for a highly mobile, highly impactful carry jungler to swoop on in, take down the Annie, and a mobile mage in the mid lane. But it's about whether or not some of those other picks start to seep in. Obviously, we've got the big supports taken away already with Nico and Alistair, so Zhuo taking a pick that he's very comfortable on. His most played pick throughout the entire year is this Rakan. So getting him this pickup, getting him comfort above all else, again, a very solid staple pickup for JDG.
And I'm not going to lie, I would love to see a Xayah here, honestly, for JDG if that does come through. But IG have said we are taking it to the bot lane. Kalista, Renata locked in for Gala, Meiko. They do not want to lose that 2v2 any longer.
No, and I wonder what it is that Peyz responds with. Could just be a Xayah. We've seen plenty of really solid picks from him in times gone by where he's played this Xayah, but could also go for something that's got a decent amount of range. I think that the Xayah is just the logical go-to, or
the Ziggs!
The range. I mean, I talked about it in game 1, right? Like, this is something that you can go for, and that Peyz doesn't shy away from. This is completely neutralizing. Kalista hates playing versus this pick, and this is just an absolute denial.
Oh, man, and after they handled that earlier game on that 2v2 down there, this is just a statement from Peyz, from Flo, and you know, part of me was hoping we get the Xayah and we get the SSG ruler skin and, you know, me getting all the deep lore out, but it really will just be the Ziggs that has seen a little bit of rise in that priority, but also providing so much long-range damage. I do need to see JDG put some AD on the team, though, moving forward. As we do get the Zins out banned by them in that second phase, we'll see what IG want to focus on as well.
Kindred! Get rid of the Kindred, please! This is like the Jun masterclass. We're missing an AD carry. You have a jungler who plays this very marksman AD carry in the jungle. It does just seem to be like that would be a great ban. They've got some great backline as well to protect with the Lamb's Respite.
I gotta ask you, how much is Shun back? He's trying to be cool. He's got a poker face on. He's trying not to get excited. He's just sitting there, please don't ban.
He has to play nonchalant. He has to act nonchalant while they're looking across the stage. Like, I don't mind if you ban the Kindred. It's not a big deal.
Is he excited?
You're gonna do it. What's the play? And he has to play it off to the coach as well. He's like, yeah, Kindred's okay here. You know, we don't have to go.
It's all right. We don't. Yeah.
It'd be an all right pick if we could go for it. You know, no big deal either way. Because again, the issue that I have with that then, okay, gets banned. Good ban from IG is that JDG are now very much scaling oriented as well. We talked about the fact that this IG comp or IG composition of players is very much geared toward playing late game and out team fighting. Their composition is already very much early game centric. Annie, Kalista, Renata is powerhouse level 6 turn on, where JDG are looking to really play late game and just wait for Ziggs Rise to get those items. Massive meatball in the front line and go wild.
It's literally just the swap-a-rooney of different styles. And that's something you actually weren't super excited about to see from IG, if that was going to be the case when we were talking about it behind the scenes, that IG are a late-game team. We don't necessarily want to see them go something early and then not do anything with it. But that is the question they will have to answer for themselves, as we'll see what kind of big picks they want to get to propel themselves into this early game. The Aatrox for TheShy is a cult classic here.
And this needs to be, honestly, for me, this needs to be a damaged jungler as well for Wei. At least something that can do some form of skirmishing in the early stages of this game. I'm looking at just the presence of Sion on its own is terrifying to me, because there's no tank shred on this IG roster. This is already going to have to be Leandri's Malignance, Annie, Kalista going for the blade, trying to do as best he can. Black Cleavers need to be built up as well to try and get through this Sion. The question now, though, for JDG, what carry jungler are they looking to go for? We've got a few already banned away with the Kindred off the board. Zed really doesn't look as great here with all the CC that they've got, so it's the Neferi coming through for Jun here as that AD carry to play into the jungle.
And we're seeing the fruits of the labor of what these two junglers bring to the table, right? That facilitation from Wei. He doesn't want to go for those carries. He even banned away that Qiyana on blue side. And Shun, to a fault sometimes, will just go for these carries and try to be that difference maker. And now he is the bridge for JDG to get to the scaling land that they want to with all these picks coming through.
Absolutely. Our two BLG scapegoats almost from years gone by. Wei and Jun, two junglers that have been shunned by the BLG organization, now battling to join BLG at that world stage. And the two calibers of jungler that we've got, this setup supportive jungler in Wei, Jun, this carry jungler, sometimes as you say, to a fault, battling head to head. And we see that in no clearer picture than a Vi versus Neferi.
Yeah, it's going to be very telling how this earlier game goes if these junglers want to get some skirmishing going as well. We saw that it took a little bit for things to start turning up around that grub pit where JDG got ahead in that game number 1. In an alternate reality, maybe that's a game-winning fight for IG as well. They'll want that one back, but all they can do is look forward. They have changed holistically the style of comp they're bringing to the table. It's an early game setup for IG, and we're a little bit questioning on how we feel about that.
Yeah, it's a tricky one for them to play out. We need to see that aggression, that momentum through the early game really start to pick them up. If they want any chance to come back in this series, they're going to have to find their feet in game number 2.
Game 2 kicking off now. It is IG trying to find a little bit of promise in this series. As we head back to Shenzhen, we head back to Summoner's Rift. IG versus JDG as the Gios roar.
And for me, signs point to this bot lane as a real linchpin for Invictus Gaming. Gala and Meiko, a duo that have, had an up and down year. Let's be honest, not really had the start or the end at this stage that they would have liked. They've been given Kalista Renata. They've been given the tools to take this game by the scruff of the neck and really force it down JDG's throat. And they have to do it.
Yeah. And I think people sometimes talk about how, Kalista can be a bit of a scaler. Some of those Ren stacks in the later part of the game can get absolutely nuts. But if you're not ahead, it feels very bad, and especially with the long-range potential that Peyz is going to have on the Ziggs. How are we feeling about the Ziggs for Peyz? Maybe something that Ruler never would have pulled out last year for JDG, trying to overshadow the shadow that he stepped into as he came onto JDG's roster.
Yeah, I think as long as this Ziggs doesn't replicate some of those woes from Ruler in the back end of 2024, we could be happy to see it as, in a lane versus the Kalista versus a Renata, you're looking to make sure that their all-in is as reduced as possible. First 2 bombs landed for Peyz, the third one goes wide. But you can see Zhou actually playing toggle of this vision very nicely, trying to weave in a couple of autos, and as level 2's about to get hit down on the spot side, you can see already that Zhou has to burn that early heal just to get out of range.
Gala doing a really good job trying to dodge around some of these bombs being thrown. We do have both junglers pathing down towards this bot side for a second game in a row, as IG will get the better hand of it, get level 2 first down here. But as we talk about those junglers, a little bit of vision had been played, so actually, JDG going to be spotted out on their path down towards bot side, so maybe that gives some more information to Wei to make a play down here. But which jungler is in the advantageous position if they do come to a 3v3?
Would like to think that the Vi early has got that opportunity to make something happen that little bit better than a Neferi does. We are focusing a lot on this bot lane, and I'll talk a little bit about the interactions for it, although hold my point, as Wei here finds himself inside the jungle of Jun.
I don't know if Shun necessarily wants to take this fight earlier on. He's going to hit both Dark and Daggers, though, and get some bleeding going, but Rookie's moving over. He does have the CC. Shun going to dodge out of that Vault Breaker, but Wei still getting the better of it and getting the blue buff. So just trying to up in Shun's clear a little bit, and he's successful at it.
Nice and clinical. You have Prio mid, you have Prio bot. Let's leverage that into a blue steal. This is a very solid, very easy play for Way to make early. Now Shun's finished his
the
Grom.
satchel charge. They don't get the damage down. Now Shun trying to show his face here. Will be seen. The handshake does go a little bit wide. I do like some of these plays that Peyz is looking for, but he's using a lot of his mana.
Yeah, what's an Efiri going to do here, right? Like, provides no CC, provides a good amount of damage, but if you can't knock up the Kalista, then you can't really expect too much else to happen. They do burn the flash from Gala, and that is a pretty big win for them, so his lethality, his ability to go aggressive with that flash now severely reduced, and despite the fact that actually they did steal away that blue buff, no real consequence for Jun as he's able to double crab in this instance, and he didn't actually go for his Gromp, so maybe Way be able to take this one for himself. Good heads-up play by both of these junglers to try and dodge things, but they might just be looking to dive. Peyz here, still quite high on health, and Summoner Heal still not available for JDG. A good chance for IG here with the bailout.
Okay, they're going to get the dive going. They try to get the block, but Zhuo stops him in his tracks. The satchel charge brings Peyz back across. Meiko, he was tanking, but is it enough? Now Way is tanking. The shots do so much damage, but it's not enough just yet. Peyz is the only one that's fallen. Zhuo wants to fall this through. If you're about to give kills to Shun, that's exactly what JDG want. They're going to give 1 over. They're going to give 2 over, and that's JDG making good on the bot lane play.
Yeah, they saw this coming, and they read it, and they stopped it. They prevented this all being for nothing. Peyz can TP into the mid lane. He loses effectively 1 minion's worth of experience, and he's going to be so happy to be able to collect this mid wave under the turret. Loses out on his life, yes, but I think that for IG, you know, one of our criticisms were that they don't do anything through the early stages of the game. It's why we were worried. Unfortunately, the first time that they go for something, it doesn't quite pan out. Look at how well Zhuo and Peyz space this out, and importantly, look at how well they space out Gala. Peyz flashes away from the initial CC, and then satchels from one side to the other. Their DPS isn't there. Gala's walking during this dive. He's just trying to get his damage out from under the turret. They spend so much time there, and with all the CC missing, it means that IG lose out on both of their bot laners. Yes, the the Berserker boots are picked up for Gala off this base, but
ooh, in the mid lane,
it's not really what you want to see.
It's not, and I gotta say, you know, a lot is said about how many games have been played in the LPL, how long this year has been. It's been a long year for both these teams. Ups and downs throughout. A lot of lackluster performances throughout as well. But all that matters is you show up in your final moments, in the final series. And this is it. And the fact that we've seen Zhuo and Scout have incredible plays early into this series, that is striking when the iron is hot. And while IG are going to start up this dragon and should be able to secure it, it's no wonder we're seeing a different JDG here in regional.
And for JDG as an organization in particular as well, after such a devastating end.
They're going to try to collapse on a Meiko. He's going to have the bailout, but it's not going to bail anything out. He's going to die to Scout, who picks up his 2nd kill on the rise.
And that's just what they're after, right? This is the perfect situation, getting gold onto this carry who needs a little bit of time to scale. One of those mandated tier plus Rod of Ages users. The fact that he's getting these kills early, he can start progressing his way towards those 3rd bigger ticket items off the back of the 600 gold that he's already farmed.
They're going to try to link up now over in this jungle support synergy. Gala's going to step over, tries to deny the Scuttle Crab going to Shun. He's getting those Ren stacks stacked up. Gala's feeling super confident now. Gonna get the bailout. Those Ren stacks continue to build. He's gonna get the kill here. Is he? Shun not going down. Gets the heal from the Darkened Dagger. And IG, what have you done? They try to get a play on this Shun. They pull so many resources. They won't burn much for it, but they are gonna get the red buff in the end.
So it's a little bit of a denial here on Tuju, and he's going to lose out quite heavily, and ultimately, IG don't really burn that much, so whilst they don't get the kill, it's not all that detrimental to them either. But it does just feel bad. They're committing so much time to this, and they're just not quite able to get it. You do feel for them, but their hearts are in the right place, like they're making these aggressive plays, they're just not really working out all that well, and even despite the fact that JDG have got this, you know, necessity to scale, they're actually still able to find these cheeky early plays that are netting them a little bit of gold.
Yeah. And we have to talk about the bear in the room. We have not seen a combo between Way and Rookie, the premier combo they drafted for here, yet in this game. That CC chain is one of a devilish proportion. And we need to see that continue to be a factor, or at least be a factor here in this game, as we are hitting those level 6s for everybody.
The question is, who are they looking to focus with it? You're going to either focus a Ryze, who's going to have 3,000 HP, the Sion, who's going to have, 5,000 and be able to tank it all without any doubt, or you're going to have to try and generate these really unique angles onto Peyz, who's not somebody who we expect to get caught out by them. So it's a really tricky position for IG to find themselves in. And for Rookie, he's getting dove between his 2 turrets here. Like, he's being forced all the way round as we look at the grubs on this top side.
And we should see a contested setup. Do we prefer JDG trying to get in here, even though they do have that scaling comp? This is where we can really see those combos for IG come together.
What we normally look for is to try and snipe away 1. IG expect to take 2. They'd like 3. They probably have to fight for all 3 of them, but the poke here from Peyz is going to be pretty important, if he can land it, that is.
That is true. We already get the 1 grub going the way of IG. Trying to find a little bit of a flank. Mega Inferno Bomb comes through, and that's a big ticket item down. There goes everything used straight onto Scout. He's very tanky this early on, and finally we get the combo from Rookie as well. Gala's flashing forward, taking the game in his own hands with a double kill. As Xiaoxu coming in the back end here, going to use the Unstoppable Onslaught, but misses it wholly, as now it's going to be Wait knocking him back into the team. The Ren stacks are there, and Gala's just waiting to rip his soul away as Wei gets a heal there in the end, and Shun oversteps as now it's Peyz stepping over the wall, trying to use this zombie mode, going forward, getting himself a double kill.
Oh my God!
This is an absolute gunslinging affair.
TP.
The double TP coming in from JDG. They want to continue this, but IG, they will put their tail between their legs and back away.
Double TPs used by JDG, and they don't really get too much out of it. That's a big fight for IG. Relwolf comes through. Scout's not going to find anything, as fortunately enough, Meiko and Rookie have been able to retreat far enough back. But this is a big win for IG. The fact that they find that fight is really important. Yes, they're going to lose out on 2 grubs here, but I don't think that's the biggest deal overall. I think getting that gold, being able to inject some venom into Gala is that big ticket to success for them.
It is indeed, and we get the remaining grubs completed by JDG, so that'll be another game where they get 2 of them, as we are going to take a look back at this play and the chaos that ensued. Both carries putting themselves in the front.
Before this fight even starts, just take a look at the minimap. The TP comes through from Xiaoxu where it doesn't from the Aatrox. But like you said in the former Zell, Scout's very tanky. It takes a lot of time for him to go down. And that's a lot of time for Jun to be poking with Dark and Daggers, for these bouncing bonks to be coming through. And Xiaoxu here with a pretty rare whiff there, is he's not able to land the point-blank Sion ulti. Flashes from one side, starts channeling this Q, and that gives the way back in for these bouncing bombs, for the daggers from the jungler to come on through. And Jun does a pretty good job at actually peppering in damage throughout this. He plays with his HP very, very wisely, as Peyz is able to land the Kobe on the back side of this, forces a double flash out to safety, and despite these double TPs coming through, JDG not able to make the most of it work.
And there may be a series of events where Peyz gets a little bit more damage down depending on how he uses his combo as he flashes over the wall, but that's the killer instinct you love to see from a guy who's trying to be the difference maker for JDG here in this series with this Ziggs play over Gala, who also got a couple kills. And now we'll see the fruits of IG's labors here on the top side with some of that pressure given. They will take a second dragon, so making good on that first game where they got none.
Yeah, the point that I wanted to bring up from that replay is that TheShy never really contributed to this. He TP'd just a minute or so ago after everything had already happened. So he's already got a lot of gold, working his way towards finishing his call, has that first item picked up. JDG wanted this first turret on the top side, but the rest of IG decide they're not going to let them take it. Remember, that Ziggs satchel is really good at taking those turrets down, and that recognition comes through. But now they've left IG and TheShy a little bit isolated. I think that the Aatrox here versus a Neferian Sion probably feels quite fine.
Oh, they are circling around. They're going to try to catch out. Whoa, that's a little bit bold from Wei. He's going to get the dodge out of there. Did have to use the quickness just for that extra momentum here, but IG will be rebuffed on the top side. And you know what you could do to maybe do that a little bit better is get a little bit of pro diff coaching to see how that dive, how that gank would have been pulled off. You can improve your game by going over to prodiff.gg and getting coaching from former and current NACL, ERL, and LTA players and coaches. Use LPL 10 to get 10% off on prodiff, and maybe you can be as good as the pros.
Taking stock of the game, though, Mazel very happy with how IG have looked to try and make plays, but a reminder that their composition can't stop just because it's 2 dragons to the good. They need to try and continue pushing the pace of this game. If nothing happens for the next 10-15 minutes, we expect JDG to be able to win the 5 versus 5s as we get later, as the fight becomes a lot more difficult for a Kalista to navigate. It's really tricky for her to try to play into Scout, to try and play into the Ziggs, with minefields going down, with rune prisons coming through, rooting her up, preventing that mobility from being a thing. And we look across the rest of the IG composition. Maybe TheShy can have a monster performance on the Aatrox, but
true,
it's not really the consistent DPS that we're looking like we would do from a Kalista and from Gala. We took this bot lane duo, knowing that it was going to be up against a really tricky matchup. They knew that this 6 would be possible, and it got thrown in their faces. Oh, he found 3 kills and finds himself not in a too bad position to start pushing this game faster.
And I do feel like Aatrox will live up to the world-ending nature of his name. At some point in this game, it's going to be a vintage TheShy performance there. But these first items do make a difference. As we have the Shojins completed for Sun, it's multiple Sundered Skies on this top side for IG, so giving them some more skirmish potential. And while we do have the Rift Herald coming up in less than a minute, JDG are the ones with priority right now. They want
Gold is dead even, but the push is really easy for Ziggs, especially versus a Kalista.
Oh, they're launching everything at Rookie. Rookie's going to get jumped on by Scout. Now they have the Hound's Pursuit unleashed. And who let the dogs out? It's JDG. If they take the first turret too, that's going to be feats completed for JD Gaming.
And they're using the Ziggs so well. The TP back into the mid lane from Peyz so that he catches this entire wave. He's able to take the first brick gold on the top side, and there's no real consequence for it. Q over the wall from Wei. Stops Scout.
Okay. He's still tanky, though. Okay, Wei is just sending it now. He does have the TP coming through with the spellbook for Meiko, but he is all alone in a 1v3. It's about to turn into a 3v3, though. He was just preemptively going in. And we do see in the bot side, TheShy gets a little bit taken off his mantle as he took that fight into Xiaoxu, but that should leave some pressure relief to get this Rift Herald for IG.
TP's available for Xiaoxu here, so if he wants to make a play happen, then he can, but it's actually a TP down into the bot side coming through from Scout. They're looking to make the play onto TheShy underneath the turret.
Oh, they really want him. He's got the speed up from the TP as well, and TheShy, he can't make it under turret fast enough. He stopped to try to get the kill. He does end up getting the flash out. He's going to dodge out. Now TheShy is going to try to take down Peyz. Peyz, you just got to hit 1 Q. Just do it. Throw the bomb. The arcade comments there. Peyz just needs 1 more. He misses it. He's going to get the auto attack. Peyz can't do it. He gets the satchel charge kill at the end. And that's a dopamine hit if you ask me.
Yeah, and vintage TheShy, he dodges those, but unfortunately didn't quite make his outplay happen on the bot side. He did burn Peyz's flash, which is a pretty big deal here. Again, if they're trying to find access to this Ziggs, that's not something that is going to be done too easily. And with no flash there, they are just making that job that little bit smoother. However, another turret falls, and this time again into the pockets of Peyz. What is lost in the mid lane? Absolutely nothing. Usually when you move the Ziggs out of mid, you want to see the enemy team try to force you to lose something for it. But Scout was there ready to push in that wave. You can see that the real crux of how this composition is looking to be played out for IG is just not being met. Dragon spawns in 10 seconds, and I think that this is going to be the big fight for IG. If they can find a win here, they can find an advantage, then maybe they'll be in a good spot to continue increasing their stakes in this game. But if JDG are able to, sort of neutralize that dragon stacking and have a good fight either way, I think this game could be pretty close to over for IG.
Yeah, these second items are going to be so big for JDG. We are getting into the thick of things now. This setup around this Cloud Dragon soul point for IG. We did see the preemptive Rift Herald used on the bot side. I was wondering if they're going to try to use it as a distractionary tool, but they don't end up doing so. They just get some extra gold on the bot side. Now they're going to push in mid lane. They got a decent amount of damage on the Xiaoxu, but nothing else going to be utilized. Now they're going to try to get... Whoa, Wei is just throwing his engages everywhere he can.
And honestly, I think that might end up being a good thing as we get later on into this.
Oh,
Scout!
the flash over! The play! Scout just made the masterclass play right on a Rookie, and that immediately puts IG on the back foot. Gala's stepping forward. Gala's losing his health bar. Gala's trying to use this bailout to get some damage down, but it goes down with a big hit from Xiaoxu. Now Wei is left out by his lonesome. He's got to get the flashes out, and Shun finds his old combo jungler of Wei as he gets the better of him for a second game in a row.
Well, Marcel, the game just got a lot harder here for IG. They lose out on the dragon stacking, they lose out on the fight, and this composition that needed to thrive, that needed to win early, is doing anything but. the first fight where they come to blows, the massive 5v5 doesn't go their way. TheShy's getting poked out under the turret by the Ziggs. And talk about a glow up for JDG here. They found themselves in 5th, 6th, having a really awkward regular season. A really solid performance versus Weibo takes them to this series versus IG, which was still going to be a big, really big challenge for them. But Rookie spotted on a ward, flashed straight on top of and taken out instantly.
I just can't, man. I cannot. It's so heartbreaking to see this IG team not be the team that's represented so well in this split number 3, to have the wheels completely fall off. And honestly, I'm just saying right now, Xun is the better jungler on the Rift right now. And the fact that we're seeing the difference between Wei not willing to go for a damage carry, to go for something that can maybe contest Xun, it's these facilitators that might just be the downfall of IG.
Yeah, I do think that Qiyana ban on blue side was very indicative for the sort of ego jungle picks that we've got, with Xun knowing that he'd take that, and you know, Wei here not having that confidence to be able to take a Qiyana pick is pretty telling. Maybe game number 3 we see them just bite the bullet and give it to Wei anyway, but I think that so far for Invictus Gaming, they're going to be very sort of distraught with how the game's going. They've got 2 items now finally for Gala, but you know, this was the carry that was supposed to be accelerated. He's even pace with Peyz, who's already got Horizon Focus picked up, Luden's picked up. This isn't a winning Kalista at this stage at all.
Yeah, this is a terrifying combo to walk into. JDG are going to be very willing to fight any objectives that come up here anytime soon. We do have the Atacon spawning in about 10 seconds here. But IG, they just need to put it together. I've loved how aggressive Gala has been playing on this Kalista. You need some of that energy for IG to get into this series.
And provided they can close this one out here, JDG, you might not be able to as easily with Scout. I mean, Wei got spotted there, so they know that he's in here.
Wei needs to be very careful here. Xun's going to try to stop everybody else from following through. The Mega Inferno Bomb's also going to hit. Scout still tanking as the Saris. The reset's going to come through the Darkened Blade, and the Darkened Dagger is going to make the difference here. Xun healing up a Storm. The double Grand Entrance knock up and the double CC combo. TheShy, he's world-ending his own life right now, as that's JDG completely cutting down IG once again. I'm getting a deja vu, and I'm getting a triple kill from Xun.
And I'm just going to say it, Mazel, that's game 2 locked and loaded here. This IG composition has failed. Their ability to scale is not present, and for JDG, they will just run this game now. With 20 minutes on the board, Atacon will be taken, and JDG are just steamrolling their way through this Invictus Gaming composition.
After a year of troubles, after a year of being knocked off of a top World Finals contesting team for Wei and Xun, this is the final battle between these two faded junglers, and Xun makes the difference.
And you can just see in this fight that by the time Gala starts auto-attacking, he's 20% HP. He's taken so much poke from Peyz, so much poke from Xun, that this Kalista is already finding it impossible to navigate these team fights. And by the time TheShy actually pops Mega and pops it this massive, you know, game-breaking ultimate, he isn't actually able to do anything. He gets in there, his team's already dead, and the fight's already lost.
You see the JDG fandom matching the JDG coaching staff, excited nonetheless, with a big slot on the line. A destiny to face Faker and T1 for that final Worlds slot. Can JDG make good on what has been a honestly terrible end to split number 3? And a team that we did not expect to be performing like this. In the end, with this is a team that had so many doubts behind them, Rude, with all the performances we've seen, with all the chokes that we've seen from this team. But all you got to do is show up a couple times, and they have in the last series and now in this one.
And remember that this JDG roster changed between Split 2 and Split 3, and it even changed during Split 3 as well. Whoa, okay, hold on.
Okay, they're going to get a play on the Peyz. They try to get him down, but he gets the heal up.
Flash.
And that's going to be the hostile takeover coming through, but it's not going to get the separation they needed. Now they're back. Inferno Bomb They are just throwing artillery at IG. IG's first strike did not land, and now the Realm Warp's coming through. They're going to send Xiaoxu onto the back line, onto the flank, and they're going to go for the kill onto TheShy. That's your frontliner, and Xiaoxu is still tanking him. The reset's there for Shun. He's going to get locked down, though, and Xiaoxu's already down. He's got in zombie mode, but Gala's stepping up. He has the bailout. Can he get another kill? Can he get the rend? He gets one, but he doesn't have enough to get the rest. And Outweigh is in the front line, but Meiko is trying to get them separated from him. He's going to use the Vault Breaker to try to get through, but he gets locked down in the end, and Scout takes his life from him.
And it's the mid-AD duo here for JDG, that core that was so present through Split 1, 2, and now finally in the playoffs and the regional qualifier for Split 3. Scout stepping up massively when he needs to for his organization, saving that team fight. JDG overplayed their hand a little bit. They realm warped the Scion into the backline because they thought this was going to be good, and I love this from way ahead. Up play, sees Peyz out in the lurch, manages to get him there. Knock up from the Renata as well. Importantly though, hostile takeover doesn't go to the backline. It goes for the Scion, goes for Jun, two champions that you're not really looking at to be taken down and to be focused. But the back half of this play where they send Xiaoxu through, it's a trade of top laners here. IG, 4 of them peel back. TheShy sacrifices himself on the front side, maybe a little bit preemptively. But a good takeaway from Xiaoxu there is he buys the time for his team to come forward. And then it's Gala flashing forward here, just able to get a reset the second before that bailout comes through. But then finally, on the back side of this play, look at the heads-up nature of Peyz. He's stepping forward, 200 HP, W down to interrupt Wei's re-entrance to this fight, saving his life and giving Scout another kill in this game.
And I hate to say it, I hate to bring up the correlations yet again, but you have to. When Ruler left such a big shoe to fill on JDG and Peyz, switching spots with him, this is the same position that Ruler was in just last year, and the same dire straits here. The need to win, and the fact that we see a typical Ruler play, right? Ruler was a player all the time in the LPL that would bait an entire team's engagement and live and turn that around on them, and Peyz is showing us just what he can do when he steps up to the plate. This Ziggs coming out of left field, being the difference maker in all these fights. Gala does not have free reign over navigating a lot of these team fights, and Peyz is the separator right now in how these compositions are working.
Unless we forget, you know, this JDG organization found themselves in this position this time last year where they were in the regional qualifier. 1 best of 5 could send them to Worlds, and as you mentioned, it was Ruler, one of their crucial playmakers, that ended up costing them that series in a pivotal game number 5. Now, JDG look very much set to send themselves to a 2-0 and potentially to a 3-0 as well off the back of that. The difference between those two marksmen could just be that Peyz won't be the one that gets caught out and costs them this series, but he's still got to get them over the line. Until this series is completely finished, we have to hope that he can't do it.
And for IG, oh my god, Wei, how did you even find yourself over here, brother? All right, well, we're going to get a little bit of shindig between Wei and Shun, the old junglers of BLG, just fighting it tooth and nail as we do get the Fates call in mid lane. Gala's trying to dodge out of this engagement, but he gets locked out. Actually, gets out of the grand entrance. Look at Gala, man. He is stepping up right now.
Turret's still there.
Under turret. IG just going for the kills, and he gets Peyz, gets the reset, and gives the kill right to Shun. Meanwhile, IG were trying to make a play, but Shun now having the reset, throwing those darkened daggers left and right and getting even more. The Hounds are on pursuit, and he wants to continue to follow them through, and TheShy unfortunately gonna have to walk his way away, but it's another triple kill for Shun.
I mean, effectively a quadra kill because he killed the Vi on the top side of it as well. So he finds all 4 kills in that fight, and you know, this game again, like I've said, probably very difficult for IG to get any form of purchasing from this point onwards. But you'd love to see this from JDG, that they are looking, and they're just looking to push the envelope at this stage. They know this game's done, so they just need to find any sort of fight. But I want to give heads up to Gala here, and you know, a little bit of kudos for it, because he dodges out on the Scion engage, and then actually again Meiko making the wrong call, doesn't want to be peeling the Scion. You need to go straight onto the Ziggs here. If they knock up Peyz there, you can play this fight out, and Gala doesn't have to go all the way under the turret to take him down. Knows that that's his only way out, that taking the AD carry is the best bet for them. Probably has stopped the Baron from being taken because they have no Ziggs there, or because they've made this fight so difficult for them. But the fact that, you know, Jun comes in off the back of this and there's no Kalista there to try and dice with him, just means that this fight's already over.
And I got to say, I hate to harp on one of the legends, but that's almost as bad of a play for Meiko as that Game 1 Shockwave Flash. We didn't see anything really land there for Meiko, and now JDG are on the front foot. And they're going for a little bit of an aggressive play on the way. That might be a little bit more than they could chew, though. Shun's getting a little bit low. He should get his soul ripped from him as TheShy starts the reset of the World Ender, and Baron now in the eyes of IG.
Yeah, they have to go for this, but they're playing up against the poke from a Ziggs, right? Mecha Inferno Bomb still there, still ready. So IG have got to be very clinical with how they take this. Eat into the pit and just look at the damage that we need to see from Gala as well. He needs to get this Baron smoked down.
Oh, Way's getting so low. Way's in the back of the pit. He's getting hit by the spike.
Kalista can still smite
the Rend. The Rend stacks are huge here. They can be the difference maker. Is he going to come over the pit? It's going to be smoked by Way. They get the Baron, but now they're going to lose Rookie on the back end of it. Gala's trying to step forward, trying to get some of these kills onto Peyz. He's going to flash. He's going to dash. He's going to pull the Rend down. He's going to get another kill. Gala has stepped up. He's gone Super Saiyan for IG, but he gets out of the grand entrance again. And Gala, the ADC that IG needed. 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 damage on the Kalista.
They put the game in his hands in the draft, and boy, is he trying to make it work in this mid-game. Stops the Baron from going to JDG, finds a massive fight around that neutral objective as well, and may just be able to claw this game back.
They're going to try to go for a play under turret now. Shun still pretty strong, 9-2 and 9. On this Nefiri, the Baron minions are doing some work now, though. He's going to try to clear that one out, but the Dragon spawning, that is going to be soul point for IG. And we look back at this overextension from JDG.
And it's Jun going a little bit too far forward. The second he goes in, he recognizes what he has done. Pushed his pace a little too fast. He doesn't have the support to be there, and it's TheShy that benefits from that, but it's IG that benefit overall. I love how well they play this, how cognizant they are that this is their only chance to come back into this. They've been given a lifeline here, and maybe a little bit of miscommunication between the jungler and the AD carry here of IG, but they make it work just about. You know, one extra bomb goes in there, it could have been a disaster. But Gala, all you need to look at is this Kalista dodging, dancing, diving away from everything, just raining hellfire down onto the carries, and the second that he knows who his target is, you can see the second stasis is coming out of, he's ready to auto-scout down, take him out. And it's on top of the fact that the rest of IG are actually there, ready as well. The CC layering is perfect. The second that stasis comes down, Scout can't do anything. And it is a one fight for Invictus Gaming that just levels up the gold. It doesn't even put them ahead, it levels it out.
5,000 gold difference reduced to nothing. Gala seemingly single-handedly picking up the corpse of IG and trying to get it over the finish line. Now they have a lot of damage with a full build Gala on the Kalista, playing out of his mind to try to get IG back into this series.
The thing is that this doesn't stop it being a very difficult game for Kalista to play. Imagine getting hit by a Rise W and then followed up with Grand Entrance, a Scion in your face as well. It's not easy for the Kalista, don't get me wrong. Having 6 items makes it a little bit better, but there's still a lot of work to be done for IG. And hopefully this Kalista can be the champion to take them over that line. Obviously, we have to remember that Jun as well, 2 levels up over Way. The same to be said for Scout as well. There are advantages for JDG like there are for IG.
Will be TheShy in the side lane, now the focus. All of IG moving over to try to take this tier 2. Gala can play a little bit more aggressively now as well with the GA, because they're going to try to move, but Peyz still has extreme wave clear on this Ziggs. And we'll see their push a little bit rebuffed here, but this is an IG that I can get behind. It's a little bit of a, play on a mistake from JDG, but it's still something for IG to hold on to. But now, unfortunately, IG are going to have nothing to hold on to. Meiko is going to try to protect Gala as much as he can here, but it's not going to be enough. They get the redemptions in. Gala's going to get his GA popped. He's trying to get a kill on the Scout, but he goes golden. Gala's bailout is not long enough, and his GA will be popped. Rookie going for a kill on the Scout now, too. The decimating smash goes through, and Gala is down. That is your main carry, and Scout is still alive. They try to go for a play over here onto TheShy, though, who is trying to go on the back line. They are going to get the kill on the Scout in the end. Meiko almost going down. TheShy, he should just die to the dogs here, as he's going to get ran down by Sun.
Good immune there from Jun, keeps TheShy from falling,
Wait,
but they're
died.
still going here.
Oh my god, Wei came back from the grave, got another kill there for Rookie. Meanwhile, Xiaoxu still tanking up a storm. The Decimating Smash going to come through and do a decent amount as Xiaoxu can't get in front of the Vault Breaker to dash away. And that is all she wrote for now. At least the dust settles and there's blood all over the place.
No, but Mazel, despite that, this is a really big fight for JDG in particular. They get the GA from Gala, so no big fight around the soul that's spawning for IG in a minute and 30 seconds, or the Baron that spawns then as well. He's going to have to play with a different item in his inventory, and he's got the gold to be able to just, I believe, swap them straight back out. But they see Gala here, they look straight for him, and look at how difficult this is for Kalista. Knock up, slow, you can't kite, knocked up again, rooted. And even through all of that, it still takes JDG a good 5-10 seconds to get through both that and then the Guardian Angel and the bailout as well. There's a lot of time for IG to get in here and for the rest of the team to be able to make things work. So Rookie needs to step into this position of being the mid lane carry, of making sure as well that TheShy can be a part of this fight, because everybody knows to focus Gala. That gives free reign for TheShy, gives free reign for Rookie to actually, you'd hope, go unchecked and deal out that DPS.
The saving grace right now for IG ahead of this dragon is Gala. He will not have his GA. He does have Flash. Barrier coming up soon. Meanwhile, it seems like JDG are going to be full frontal assault mode going into this one to stop that Cloud Soul from going over to Gala, who would absolutely love another stack of that movement speed.
Yeah, heads up play from Gala here, goes back to base, sells his GA, finds Immortal Shield Bow as that extra defensive item. So another layer of protection here that JDG are going to have to try to rip through.
He is so hard to take down, but if Peyz starts landing some of this... Oh, Mega Inferno Bomb gone. Wei decides to just go for the play on Shun. Shun has the GA, though. Wei just overplayed his hand. Meanwhile, TheShy's on the back line. There goes the Tippers, too. It's a little bit of a miscommunication from IG. And now the resets are starting to come through for Shun. He's getting locked out. He still has his GA, though. And now it's looking on the back line. Scout is getting ran down by TheShy. And IG, they finally find the fight they were looking for. Shun can't get the resets no matter what. And Gala finally dies. Xiaoxu is the only one left between 4 members of IG, and that's going to be the Dragon's Soul going to Invictus Gaming.
Maybe even more than that, Mazel here. They may just look to tie up the series. 45 seconds on Scout, Jun and Xiaoxu with a wave in the mid lane. IG, they're sending us to 1-on-1, Mazel. JDG don't find that fight. They can't snowball effectively, and Gala comes up huge.
A comp we said needed to have that early game promise. They were down 5,000 gold, and they roar triumphantly in this game 2 to take down JDG. They combined with Gala going Super Saiyan to even us up here in our final best of 5. 1-1, Invictus Gaming are going to take game number 2. After a 4,000 gold lead in the end and a slow finish, but it finally goes down.
It was very close there in the end as the Ziggs tries to make it stop and Peyz not quite able to do so. But when did we say Invictus Gaming thrive? It's in that late game. They give themselves an early game to bridge their way through it, and they fail miserably. They're down 5k gold, but a rare throw, one of those big whiffs from Jun, gives the Baron over to IG, and from there they're able to claw their way back into the game and push us even level now in this 1-to-1 series.
It has to be fate, man. It just has to be fate. We were wondering, is that all that IG were going to give us? And it turns out it's not. To break down that game number 2, we're going to send it back over to the desk and back over to Graves.
Thank you, Lennon. Man, we were setting up for a JDG 2-0 conversation, but IG had other ideas. With the early game comp that they drafted for themselves, able to live up to what we were hoping that they would be able to do. Turn things around, play the macro well, and they were able to do it this in the back half of this game, Alk.
Oh man, let's go! I was gonna get fined. I could feel Kelsey in the back of my mind saying, "Don't do it, don't do it." We got one more game at least, but we won a game, and by all means, we should never have been in this spot. Like, we have the early game composition, we get the first 2 dragons, but we're messing up fight after fight after fight around objectives. It doesn't look good. I was ready, as they said on the show, probably was looking like a 3-0 on the cards here, but there's that late game magic, baby. We got it back, even if it's for 1 game.
Yeah, I mean, this was over. Like, essentially, there was no way back into this. You draft this gigantic early game comp for IG, and you throw away the early game with a couple of, crazy plays, but leave it to IG to draft Kalista, Renata, and, Annie, and be able to make it work in the late game team fights anyways. We don't want to see the hands. We don't want to see the early game. We just want to see this team 5v5, and they were able to do that here.
Man, what a strange way to end that game, and we're going to have a really fun time breaking down what exactly Invictus Gaming did to turn that game that was in such a disastrous state into an even series now at 1-1 as we wait for our highlights, our player of the game, and everything like that. I mean, it was a very stark turnaround, and it really started with Gala on that Kalista. I mean, there was that one fight on the top side, and he got a kill, and we were like, okay, this is interesting. And then it was just one after the other after the other. My guy popped off, and deservedly so here for this player. And we had some questions came in about what the Ziggs was going to be able to do for Peyz. Gala was just the better player in this game.
Gala wasn't the better player of the AD carries. Gala was the best player in this game. He just was unreal in terms of his positioning. He ends up, being able to build that super tanky Kalista build and just be, 1v5 material, jumping in and playing as aggressive as he wants. This is the only way for you to be able to get back in is if Gala is Superman, and it was exactly that. You get all of that gold onto him in the early game from these dives, even if you're trading it over to JDG with the hope that eventually this Kalista can 5v5. And he's had a couple of fantastic team fights throughout this year in general. He's had some bad ones too. The inconsistency has been part of a problem for him, but at least here today in game number 2, he came up in probably the biggest moment of this team's year.
We've been waiting for this, right? The consistency out of the bot lane. Didn't see it too much in their first series against top esports. I feel like Jackie Love and Hong specifically were able to do a lot for them in that game, in that series. But yeah, everybody really just starting to deliver. TheShy coming into a play a little bit there. And it hurts for JD Gaming to lose that one after the early advantage that you're able to build. It still feels like Shun is playing out of his mind, and it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to get the win there.
I just saw a tweet from Tom saying, can we find a way to give Gala the win, but not the rest of IG? And I fully endorse that. Just look at the gold graph here. They're up almost 5,000 gold. I think you also look at the composition here. We'll get into the draft a little bit later, but I really feel like you look at what JDG have, and you go late enough into the game, and IG are kind of struggling. The only out for them, really, in my mind, is TheShy. This Aatrox champion is nigh unkillable if we can get to that stage in the game, but we saw multiple failed dives early on, and Gala, he had a lot of tools to work with. You have an Annie, you have a Renata, Vi, all of this is set up for you to be able to get work done, and finally he's able to deliver on it. That has been the biggest part. I think another problem for IG is whether or not we're actually going to have real carries, because I've been propping up TheShy as the carry for this team. Gala kind of feels like a second string, like backliner almost sometimes. And I think we've seen that here in the regional finals, in their series versus top esports, and even in that first game here tonight.
Yeah, Gala is just, he's one of those players that he's always been on the cusp of being really good. And he's never been the guy in the AD carry role. He's never really been the guy for any of the teams that he's played for. There were times on RNG where they would play for him, but these are the kinds of performances that you start to be like, okay, this is the Gala that if we can just get 2 more games of this in this series, all of a sudden, everything else doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that we're continuing to walk up and play really aggressive in bushes. It doesn't matter that mid-jungle are honestly not having a good series really at all right now. If you get great performances, if you have the best players on the Rift, you're always going to have a chance, and at least for now, it looks like IG are going to put themselves in a position to do so. Maybe not so much in this clip. This was a bit of an overextension, but, we can excuse 1 or 2 mistakes.
Can we please stop putting great AD carries that are mechanical on Ziggs? Like, I don't want to watch Peyz play Ziggs. I don't want to watch Guma play Ziggs. I don't want to watch a player like On or even Jackie Love play Ziggs. These champions are not for them. I want to have them be able to right-click on some heads, give us some free wins, and call it a night. Give me a Lucian. Give me a Jhin. Give me anything other than a Peyz Ziggs.
After yesterday, I don't know if we want the Peyz Lucian either. You know, we can as we get later into Fearless, maybe. We can think about it a little bit more. It is an interesting point because K-Man, you were talking about it, you know, just between us while we were watching that game. Peyz actually played a lot of the Ziggs on Gen G, but I feel like the way that team was constructed when you have Canyon and Chovy alongside Keen and just like these crazy carries on the top side, he was allowed to take more of a back step. On this JDG roster specifically, Peyz always has to be a giant X factor, and that's why maybe we're a little bit more hesitant about this pick in the draft.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, the Ziggs does cause a bit of a problem here if you do end up giving the gold to Kalista. I still can justify it from the perspective of maybe why you would want to go for it. I think you do have so much damage coming in from Nefiri Rise that having that siege potential to close out a game theoretically should be good, but that's not how JDG like to play. We talked about the good of this in game number 1 where JDG were super aggressive, constantly looking for plays, you know, finding the 2-for-1s. Even if they weren't exactly perfect, they were getting something. Well, in this game, they were, you know, trading too much gold back over to the side of IG and keeping them in games despite the fact that they were in such a good position, and I think that really came back to bite them.
Let's take a look at our player of the game number 2. I feel like
you know who it's
probably
gonna
just
be.
goes to one person. Yeah, it's Gala. He died 8 times, but you know what? Able to make those deaths count, especially towards the end of that game. Man, this guy basically 1v9 and was the reason as to how IG were able to turn that game around.
This is a real 1v9 because his teammates were making it really difficult for him to win. So he actually had to quite literally play with opponents on his own team.
Okay, not directly, and if anything, the Renata was on his team, so he was forcing them to fight against each other on JDG's side a little bit there. But yeah, well deserved here for Gala. Would love to see him continue to pop off throughout this series, and something as we can get into the draft graphic. The Kai'Sa still available for either of these players. I feel like that's a specialty specifically for the IG ADC. We'll see. If he can continue to have these crazy aggressive moments, which is what we know Gala for throughout his competitive career. Let's get into that draft graphic though, and break this down a little bit more because, given the fact that everything was going the way that it was in the early game for IG in game number 1, I was happier with the fact that they went with a more early game focused composition came in.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the early game focus at least gave them some semblance of an identity early on. I think at times they played a little bit too much into that identity. The bot lane dive certainly not being the most consistent thing in the entire world, but leave it to IG to pick Annie,
You're a little late here, Grapes.
Vi.
I just saw the dogs.
Yeah, no, the dogs are going crazy. You leave it to IG to pick the most early game of early game comps and then end up having a 35-minute banger.
Any thoughts about the draft here, Alk? I mean, we see Annie here on B1. This is definitely a rookie specialty, and I was a little bit worried seeing the Nefiri get locked in for Shun. I think we both saw that and we're like, oh god, this JDG comp's gonna be insane late in this one, but it didn't actually end up happening.
I mean, if we just look at historical data and what has been happening, like Rise versus Annie is a really tight window for Annie to be able to play. Kalista Renata can play the early lane versus Ziggs, but later on becomes a difficulty, and that seems like it is a common trend here for all of JDG's champions in this draft. Like later on, IG have very little ways of being able to play, so now we have to think about Fearless here. I know I put for IG, we're talking about Annie. It's a good takeaway from Scout, but more importantly, I think just what Ricky's pool is going to look like here in the series, because there's no Orianna anymore. He didn't play any Aurora for the most part in the postseason. We have no Rise. He doesn't play Azir. So are we going to move towards Talia, which is completely dropped off the face of the cliff here for playoffs? Like, he's going to have a much smaller effective champion pool. And he already is kind of a weak link for this team right now.
Sorry, Grapes. That I have to jump in here because that is the concern for me. Is I'm happy we got Annie. It's cool that they left it up. They ban out the Wukong because they want to take away the pairing. Great, whatever, fine. Now that we're down to this, is it just Victor spam? Are we just going back to control mages? Are we just saying, whatever? I don't think you can do that after this game. I get that the ante wasn't effective, but I think it's important to say that the proactivity that was allowed, even just from some of the ante plays, was so important towards what Rookie was doing here. Because I think this team needs that kind of spark somewhere. And even if his positioning, if his laning, if his gold isn't exactly up to par with what you would need, I think going back to something more passive would really bite Invictus.
Let's get into this first clip, as you know, it will show a bit of a mistake that Rookie was making, playing a little bit too aggressive, standing on this forward. And hey, shout out to Scout and everybody else for pressing the go button here. This is where we were all like, oh god, it's brutal again. Another loss in the early game. JDG looks like they're going to run away with it here. They played the first 15 minutes, first 20 minutes of this one really well here.
I think now that I'm like taking back this series or this game and kind of going through it, I kind of want to posit the question for us now. Is this going to be, can we consider this as 2 good games from Scout? I think there's a meaningful argument there.
Yeah.
I would say so. Generally.
Like, I know we're talking about the team that did lose here in the end of the day. But part of that I think is, again, just the composition that IG have. It's super easy. Later on in the game, I think a player that we were doing a lot of building up was Xiaoxu in game number 1. Game number 2, that one was, I think his Scion did not look as clean. So we're going to have a couple more clips to go through, but I am really worried about what kind of, if this is the time that Xiaoxu's going to step down in terms of performance, I'm okay with that because he's mostly been weak side top lane, but I'm happy. Scout is at least playing a little bit better.
Hey, you said 1.5, right? Last time?
1.5 last night.
Yesterday. So can we say 1.5 this time too, or do you think it's more like 2? Like, that's the question, I guess, for you?
I'll give him 2. I'll give him 2 for now.
All right. Well, you know what? That early game was good here for JDG. They got up to about a 5,000 gold lead came in, but then Gala started to happen as we get into our next clip. This guy, around this Baron, was when things started to turn for IG.
This is the nightmare play, right? Like, this is where everything goes wrong for JDG. They're not able to get into the pit, even though they forced the jungler out. They still have the Rend, and so they're not in a terrible position to be able to secure the Baron. But the moment that everything starts diving and Peyz is left isolated on his own on this Ziggs, and there's really no way for him to be able to play, it's over. There's no damage coming in. Gala has a free lane to just kind of dive in and tear everything up here. And at this point, it's really easy to play out, actually. And I think that's kind of the hardest part here to describe for JDG is the Ziggs was a pretty important piece towards playing some of these earlier skirmishes. We didn't get to see it here, but there was a bot lane play that they went for that did end up going really in favor of JDG, where if they just play a little bit more, careful, a little bit slower, you maybe take tower with Ziggs, you start to play a little bit more aggressive in that phase, but it just doesn't work out, and it opens the door for something like a Kalista to be much more aggressive the moment you start building GA and Xiaoxu and all of these more tanky items. You just don't have the damage to ever break through and actually kill Gala in any meaningful time.
And with this, IG get back into the swing of things. They're able to finally be at an even state, even though we still think the late game scaling champions for JDG were good. And it comes down to this last fight in the mid lane that ends up deciding the game, and it actually ended up being a decisive one.
I was really excited about this because this is the IG that I was getting us ready for. I spent like all of playoffs being like, guys, they're gonna have good moments. Don't worry, they're gonna come back in the lower bracket. BLG is a good team. They end up winning. So results-based analysis means that IG only lost to some of the best teams here in the league. But then I saw the rest of playoffs, and then I also saw the rest of the regional final series, and that one made me a little bit sad. But we talked about it clicking. They gave all of the resources to Gala to be able to carry. I think JDG were a little dysfunctional here in the mid game, and that was problems that they had versus Weibo. We talk about them giving up a Dragon Soul and stalling out for another 8 to 10 minutes in that game number 2. Game number 3, they have like a huge winning position versus a Smolder early on, and then they just kind of biff it a couple engages, and suddenly Light gets a pentakill and they end the game. So JDG are obviously not a bulletproof team by any means, but I do kind of want to see them still step it up, and this is exactly the kind of League of Legends that I was expecting coming into the night.
I'm so excited